Hey guys, it's Laptop Laura, and this is Copy That Pops. Writing tips and psychology hacks applied to online biz success.
Here we go.
Hello, my copy poppers. This is a quick special episode with some announcements, milestones, and even business lessons learned from me to share with you. I hope that it's fun and helpful. So number one is a big announcement. I've been teasing it for a little while and kind of kept pushing it off when I was going to announce it, but I finally am. So here goes. I'm pregnant. I actually found out that I was pregnant in mid-January of this year, 2019. And my husband and I, Devin, have been trying for a while. So we're really excited about it. But I do have to say, thank God I had just gotten my new podcast audio editor and show notes person up and running with a great system on the back end, or this show would have literally stopped in its tracks in January. My first trimester was miserable. I never actually threw up, thankfully, but I would say I had a solid 2 months of what I would describe as mild food poisoning, day and night. And it was not so bad that I had to throw up, luckily, but it was bad enough that I couldn't get much done each day. My routine became sleeping 10 to 12 hours a night, including getting up 3 or 4 times to pee, and have just a couple of hours in the morning to work before the nausea really hit. So they always call it morning sickness, but for me, I found that the morning was actually the least sick, and it would kind of start hitting like right around 11 a.m. So I'd wake up at like 9 a.m. and have maybe 2 hours to work on helping my book writing and best-selling launch clients before the nausea just completely hit me like a ton of bricks and sent me running back to bed for either a 3-hour nap or just general day-long unproductive malaise. I can tell you that my respect for all mothers worldwide has completely skyrocketed. And now, as I record this in April of 2019, I'm in my second trimester and feeling a lot better. I'm not 100% back to my old energy, but at least I'm able to get more done in a day. So if any of you listeners out there are pregnant or your significant other is pregnant, I'd love to hear about it too. And number 2, my second thing I want to share with you today is a special milestone. So this month in April 2019, we crossed the 3-year anniversary of this podcast. I first launched Copy That Pops while living in Regensburg, Germany. That's in Bavaria in the southern part, just northeast of Munich. And episode 000 released on April 22nd, 2016. Can you believe it? Having a podcast has been an interesting undertaking in that it's forced me to produce consistent content for far longer than I ever have before for any given topic. And I don't want to stop now. In fact, I'm bouncing around the idea of a Book That Pops podcast just on books specifically. But for me, it's just a matter of really getting my energy back to produce all the material for you. I'd love to hear your feedback on if you would listen to a show just about writing, self-publishing, marketing, and launching a best-selling book on Amazon with me. Let me know. Item number 3 for you today. I wanted to thank you for the podcast reviews. Every time I look at my show on a podcast player like iTunes, for example, it makes me feel so good to see reviews. The most recent ones I see are from a screen name Kesselia, Keselea, and Wade Galt. So Kesselia wrote, "You have to listen. Laura is an incredible resource on all the things copy, psychology, and becoming an Amazon bestselling author. I've used the tips from her podcast and from her books to improve the show notes and copy for my podcast. I'm loving the results. Listen to this podcast immediately." Thank you so much. That's really incredible. And then Wade Galt wrote, "Brilliant, actionable, powerful. Laura is great at giving clear direction and proven strategies to help grow your business. She pulls great insights and tips from her guests and is an extremely talented interviewer." Oh my goodness, thank you. "If you want real information, no nonsense, and a bottom line wisdom, then this is for you." Thank you both so much for taking the time to leave a rating and review. It's super easy to do it from your smartphone, a little bit harder from desktop, at least for iTunes, but it helps tell the podcast player that it's on, iTunes or all the other different podcast players that you can find the show, that the show is worth putting in front of more eyeballs. So your reviews not only make me feel good, even when I'm almost about to barf, they help more people find the show as well. And last, number 4, I wanted to share some business lessons learned, or at least some business lessons that are really bouncing around in my head as a result of my experience this year so far in 2019. So never in my entrepreneurial life so far have I been so slammed down and out like I have been feeling pregnant this year. My capacity to do things has tanked. I am so behind on Facebook messages that I physically feel horrible and guilty, and I'm saying no to opportunities I normally jump at. It's quite the opposite of my 2018, where I visited like 6 different countries, spoke on 3 continents, and just said yes to everything. But I have to say that even though that might sound negative, in a way, it's been a really good thing for me. It's forced me to reflect a lot. It's forced me to analyze how I used to fill my days. Always busy. Was I working on the right things? So going forward, especially in late September and after, when I'm going to have a crying baby that needs me, I'm due September 20th, by the way. What do I want to be doing? What realistically can I actually manage? I'm still figuring it all out. I'm still reflecting on it, but I'm focusing hard on some different topics, which you may be as well in your own business. So getting more systems in place, more automation, more elimination of things that aren't really essential, more delegation and hiring people to do things that I do want to keep going on in my business, but just don't have the capacity to do. More repurposing of content. So how can I create one thing and then repurpose it in different ways to get it shared across different channels? Growing sales of products and my group accelerator program instead of saying yes to private client work. And getting my digital funnels and email nurturing really on point, ads too, instead of relying so much on networking and referrals. To be continued, but it's certainly an inflection point for me in business. And if you've navigated something similar, maybe with the birth of a child, the adoption of a child, an illness, a family commitment, etc., I'd love to hear about what you came across and any tips and tricks that you have incorporated into making your business run better and more efficiently, even though your capacity in terms of at least time to put into it has reduced. And absolute lastly, thank you for being a listener of the show. I am honored you choose to spend time with me each week, 3 years running now. And I'll talk to you next week when we will find more ways, of course, to write copy that pops. Thanks so much for listening. Let's keep the conversation going. You can find more at copythatpops.com, and I'm at Laptop Laura on all the socials.
Sometimes we find the greatest things in life.